Dear Bernie Sanders, yes, I know that there's no way you're ever going to see this, but it's not as if I can call you up on the phone or come hang out with you in your very red office in Vermont. I don't have any other way to make a face-to-face plea with you to stay in this election, and not just until the DNC pushes you out, but right to the bitter end. It's 5 o'clock in the morning here in Ohio, and the city is waking up around me, and I have not even been to sleep yet because, as usual, since all of this started, and really before that, my mind is just racing with 1,000 possibilities, and 999 of them are not good. I'm poor. I was born poor. I've been poor all my life. And first and foremost, I want to thank you on behalf of people like me all over this country who, whether they know it or not, you take a lot of crap for trying to protect us and defend us. You are the only presidential candidate that I can think of in my lifetime, I'm 33, who has ever actually truly cared about poor people. And as a result, every single time you have any encounter with a reporter or Whoopi Goldberg, you end up getting such vitriol that they have never shown Donald Trump. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the tax breaks he gives them or the good ratings that they get from him. Nothing at all. They treat you as if, well, you and us, we've all been compared with Nazis. You, the first Jewish presidential, this close, hopefully president, and they want to compare you and your supporters with Nazis coming into France, into Paris, and compare us with brown shirts. And there's no consequence for that. Donald Trump literally supports Nazis, calls them good people, and they've never called him a Nazi. But again, I'm sure that has nothing to do with their tax breaks or the tax breaks of those who pay him and pay them, the ones they serve. But I truly believe if you were not in this race right now, we would not have even got the crumbs out of the stimulus package that we got. Hell, Nancy Pelosi's trying right now to find ways to take them away. The poorer you are, the more they want to make sure that you get nothing. And you are one of the only people who stood up and went, yeah, that makes no sense. Now, either everybody in the media and in Washington is very, very bad at math, or they have an ulterior motive for every single interaction they have with you and your supporters. One of the two. But I think that we can safely say that this primary is not a free and fair election. You've said that you're staying in because you feel people deserve their voice, and I could not agree with you more. But you're not going to get it with the DNC. I mean, it was bad enough when what they were doing was closing polls all over states to the point where I believe it was Kansas. Don't quote me on that, but it was one of the states in that area. Had only 16 polling locations for the whole entire state, and they were purging voters so much that the mayor of Kansas City could not even vote. He had to come back to vote because he had been purged from the voter list. That was bad enough. That was, everybody blames the Republicans for that, as well they should be blamed. They do plenty of that themselves. But there wasn't much said when the DNC did it. And then, as if it couldn't get any worse, they literally weaponized the coronavirus against their own voters. They said in states like Florida, which was already running rampant with coronavirus, yeah, you can go vote, but sorry, you might catch coronavirus. Oh, and we've used the disease to shut down the majority of the polling locations, so now there will be even more of you crammed into tight spaces with no ventilation. Vote, get sick. Vote, get sick. Choice is yours. You can stay home and remain healthy, or vote and get sick. And I live in Ohio, like I said, and the only thing that saved me, someone with 2 autoimmune diseases and horrible lungs and a history of pneumonia and a history of bronchitis, from having to make that choice, knowing if I'm exposed to coronavirus, I'm exactly the demographic that's gonna die. The only thing that saved me from having to make that choice was my Republican governor, whom up to this point, there's never been a thing Mike DeWine has said or done that I could agree with on any level. But the way he's handled the coronavirus overall has been stellar, and the way he took on the judge that tried to stop him from not holding the primaries in our state was beautiful. Like, he just put his foot down. And as a result, the DNC said, well, for every state that postpones the primaries and doesn't make your people choose between remaining healthy or voting, we're going to take delegates away. Bernie, come on. This is not people getting their voice at all. Like, this is some next level dictatorship. Die to vote? I thought we were past that. And of course, when there are polling locations that are open, it's in affluent neighborhoods, affluent white neighborhoods, because you don't want poor people voting. They might vote for you. This is just a fact. Like, people can look this up. I'm sure you know it. You are a very intelligent, very insightful human being. So I know you already know this. In 2016, when they pulled what they pulled on you, I did not want any part of that election from that point forward. But, like you, I was like, well, it could be worse. We have to stop Donald Trump. Like, at least she'll be the first woman president. I'm not thrilled. I think it's bullshit. I'm sacrificing what I believe in. But at least it's not Donald Trump. And I encouraged everyone I knew to vote for Hillary, despite what was done to you. And I argued with people who said, no, we're not going to do that. And I'm like, come on, we have to stop Trump. That's not going to work this time. I absolutely cannot vote for Joe Biden. What's the point in stopping Donald Trump when Biden would totally be all about the same type of policies? Biden has said the exact same thing about immigrants that Donald Trump says. Biden has allegations of sexual assault coming out his ears and has literally sexually assaulted women and girls on national television, on a stage, in front of hundreds of people with a camera on him. If he'll do that in public, what's everybody think he does in private? I mean, I've seen him do that to a little girl about the age of my 4-year-old daughter. And I watched as she tried to hide from him behind her mother. And he followed her. Like, he treats women and girls like inanimate objects. I can't get behind that. And that's not to mention all of the things that he's done to my generation. Every single thing that he fought for or supported or wrote. As you know, Bernie, as you know, it was all nails in the coffin for my generation. The crime bill, supporting the war on drugs, supporting the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the way he handled the 2008 housing crisis, the way he handled student loans, every bit of it, every bit of it. has led my generation to where we are right now, which is leading us to being the first generation that's economically worse off than our parents, working 2 and 3 jobs to try to take care of our families and our kids. Like, you cannot survive on one income in America anymore, and it's because of the likes of Joe Biden. And then, as if all of that didn't make him unelectable enough, dude, between me and you and the fly on the wall, he has Alzheimer's or dementia, one of the two. Like, we gotta quit pretending that our lying eyes are lying to us and we don't see what we see. That's the same thing Donald Trump asks of his base. We're better than that, man. All of us, not just, we are all better than that. But they believe because you have already said you will support Joe Biden no matter what when they crown him king of the DNC, because this is no election. I'm sorry, this primary is a joke. And a lot of your supporters have already said that they'll support him as well, and we're expected to. You are the one with the policies that over half of America want. He is the one with who cannot churn out among his own base any more than 24% of people who are saying that they actually want to vote for him. Sorry, very excited to vote for him. By the way, I noticed they didn't put any numbers when it came to you in that poll, even though you're still in the running. I have no doubt they took those numbers, but they did not report them. Can't imagine why. I mean, this shit is so transparent at this point that it is obvious that they're doing it because they know they can't. Because they have the whole establishment. And we have you. And only you. A couple of, but in the running for president, we have you. Now, Bernie, I know you're tired. I have no doubt that you are bone deep tired. You have been fighting this crap for 6 decades. I've only been at it 2 and I'm fucking exhausted. Sorry. I actually was going to try not to cuss in this video, even though I know you'll never see this. Just because, I'm pretending. I'm pretending I'm sitting across from you. And I would be super respectful like that. But I do have a tendency to just cuss and not even realize it. Anyway, a needed explanation. I know that you're tired. And I have no doubt that there's got to be a part of you. I mean, you're 78 years old. And you have fought so hard for so many years against so many different forms of injustice. There has to be a part of you that just wants to go home and be left alone. I don't blame you for that, Bernie. I don't. But, and if that's what you end up deciding to do, I still love you. I still respect you. I still support you. And it was an honor to have the dream with you for a little while. But, sorry. People are literally dying for the policies that you champion. And during a pandemic, especially, we need you more than we have ever needed you. What's the first thing that the establishment did when all this happened? They helped crash the stock market. And then they came to us and said, okay, we're going to take money mainly for the corporations. Screw you, screw you, screw that 17-year-old boy in California who died from the coronavirus because he had no insurance. Screw him and everybody like him. We're going to worry about the corporations. And we're going to worry about their CEOs. And fuck you. And if it would not have been for you, we would not have got what we got. Just like in 2008. But they know, despite all the voter suppression and the closing of the polls and the whole 9 yards, that if your supporters really did look at them and say, no, enough, we're done, which I think most of us are at that point, and there's nothing you can say or do to change that, and you shouldn't be expected to. Why would you run Biden's campaign for him? It's his job to win us over. It's not your job to hand us all to him. But anyway, they do have a little tiny bit of fear that we're not going to play ball, and we're not. Most of us are not. I can't, for reasons I've already named. I'm not going to keep putting aside my moral compass every couple of years for the DNC. If I were going to put aside my moral compass, I would do something and get rich. I'm sure as hell not going to do it for the DNC every 4 years. So we're not doing that. But they are still convinced you're going to play ball, and they can do whatever they want and dick us over 100 different ways and not let us have our voice, and you will still stand there and support Biden. And I am begging you, if you really, really, really want Americans to have their voice heard, please run independent and see this through to November. Because there is no way Joe Biden is going to get elected. He has Alzheimer's. We see it. Can you imagine him on a debate stage with Donald Trump? Donald Trump is a complete moron, but at least he knows where he is most of the time. I mean, he is going to eat Biden alive. And there's not a thing Biden can say against Trump that he has not also done. So how's that going to work out? And since he's had 45 years in the public eye, there are a lot more instances of him doing it. I mean, there's no way. Biden will not win, period. But I swear to you, if you run independent and you are still in this race come November, I have no doubt in my mind you will win. Probably by a landslide, even with 3 candidates. Because even by July, people are not going to be feeling the full effects of what the coronavirus has done to us as a nation yet. By November, though, people are they're going to get it. And they're going to know they need you. What's the first thing everybody started talking about when this pandemic hit? Medicare for all. And then you add that with the fact that you want paid sick leave. The fact that we didn't have paid sick leave just helped the pandemic spread even faster. Like, we are in such bad shape because of the policies, not just of Donald Trump, but of the entire establishment. Policies you want to correct. Policies that will let people like me and the people I know have a chance at living. And maybe, just maybe, break out of what has essentially become the caste system from India, only in America. Because people like Joe Biden took away every single avenue people my age and younger had to get out of poverty. They took it all. Any way that we could have done that is gone. And only one person is trying to give it back to us. You are literally our only hope. And you saw from the way Whoopi Goldberg talked to you exactly how they are going to blame you when Biden loses, even if you let him have it. So don't. If you truly want to stop Donald Trump, you have to run independent. Period. I'm not just saying that because I'm your supporter. Like I said, the last time I did as they said, and I bowed my knee, and I did what they said. I voted for Hillary. I put aside the fact that I was furious. Not just because they did it to a candidate I liked, but because they did it at all. If the roles were reversed and the DNC were doing things like this on your behalf, I'd be just as pissed off. Democracy, people don't get it. Democracy is not that easy to get back once you lose it. And we're so close right now. And with the DNC doing what they're doing during this primary, all they're doing is showing everybody the establishment is the establishment. It does not matter what side it is. They're all one. Republicans, Democrats, they're all one. They're all on the same side. And I'm hoping by November, maybe the rest of us over here can figure out we're all on the same side too. And right now we're on the side that's losing. And we really need to change that if we want our kids and grandkids to have any type of future in this country. Because here's what's going to happen. And anybody who watches this, mark my words on it. If Bernie Sanders is not our president when effective treatments and vaccines for COVID-19 are available, poor people aren't going to get it. Hell, they'll probably make it so Medicaid won't even pay for the vaccine. It will be available only for the rich or people willing to go bankrupt for it. Is that what you want? Do you think that's fair? Like, is it fair that two people can go to the hospital, one having COVID-19 pneumonia and one having regular pneumonia, and under the best case scenario, the best policy they've pitched out there, the one with COVID-19 gets treatment and doesn't go bankrupt, and the one with regular pneumonia gets treatment, goes bankrupt, loses their home, loses everything they've worked for? How is that fair? And I've heard people like Joy Reid and Joe Biden, who has said flat out, during the pandemic, he has said he would veto Medicare for all if it was on his desk and he was president. I've heard them all say, oh yeah, absolutely we should cover COVID-19 treatment. But I have yet to hear a single one of them justify why it should only be COVID-19 treatment. And I don't want to hear how are you going to pay for it. Not when they just handed trillions to the corporations for the second time in 12 years. I don't want to hear that. Because that tax money, that doesn't belong to the corporations. They pay little or nothing into it. That's our money. And we see crumbs. But at any rate, like I said, I know Bernie Sanders is never going to see this. I don't know. I just needed to get that out, I guess. And since I have no other way to do it, and to feel like I'm talking directly to him, even though he'll never see it, that I just wish that he would come out tomorrow and say, obviously, democracy is no longer a thing the Democratic Party cares about, and I'm running independent. Hate me if you want to. They're gonna hate us anyway. They're already doing it. They run the worst candidates in the world and then blame Bernie when those candidates lose. It's madness. Madness. I don't remember John Dean, that was his name, right? Howard Dean, being blamed when John Kerry lost. Y'all remember that? Because I don't. Like, that's never happened any other time except for when Bernie Sanders is involved. And again, for anybody who is watching this, don't ever forget that hatred, that vitriol that they will not show Donald Trump. They show it to Bernie because he's on our side. I mean, right now is the time to all fight for each other. And when it comes to politics are interwoven very, very closely with every moment of every day for poor people. And we can create party unity, but not with Joe Biden. Because we all have something in common. Something that makes us the majority. Something we have in common with Donald Trump's base. Many of them. And there are quite a few of them who voted for Trump in 2016 because of the things he was promising economically, who have flat out said they would vote for Bernie Sanders if he were the candidate. I don't know if y'all saw it, but last week, a staunch Republican to the far right made it a point to stand up on the Senate floor and talk about how much, even though he doesn't agree with Bernie on just about anything, how much he admired and respected Bernie for standing up and fighting for people the way he did over the extra $600 paycheck that would be given to poor people, that a lot of people, including, yes, Nancy Pelosi, but, you know, he just talked about the Republicans, but it was both sides, that those people did not want to give poor people. That's a president. Like, someone who can get a person on the polar opposite side of him, someone who disagrees with him on everything, to stand up and say, this man is someone I respect and admire for his integrity, was really what it was. Like, that's a president. Someone who can unite multiple generations, races, genders. That's a president. But yeah, you know, if the DNC were actually interested in winning, I promise you they'd be throwing their hat behind Bernie. But they're not. They don't care. It's life or death for us. As long as they keep their tax breaks, they're happy. I just pray to God Bernie doesn't let them knock him out of the race. Because it'd be one thing if this was a fair fight. This is not a fair fight. And they have absolutely taken our voice away, which is just going to lead to even more people staying home in November. Instead of bringing in non-voters, the largest voting base we have, they're going to be pushing away people like me. I've voted in every single election since I was 19 years old, including midterms. I've voted in all of them. And I'm not voting in the presidential election if those are my options. So there you have it. And the DNC doesn't care because they win either way, as long as it's not Bernie.